Having completed the front bulkhead in the previous kit bag, it's time to move on to bag D and the rear bulkhead. The rear bulkhead pretty much follows the same basic principle as the front, with only a few subtle differences due to the new rear sway bar mount. But let's crack on and get the rear differential into its new home. As with the front, you'll need to keep the thread lock and black grease handy for this bag. So we'll begin with the main bulkhead housing. Insert a bearing to the outside and another to the pinion gear before pushing the pinion gear through from the inside out. And with the differential coupler on the opposite side, insert a 4mm set screw to tighten down into place, with some thread lock applied here too, and making sure it's nice and tight. Give the coupler a few turns, making sure everything is nice and free. Next, we reach for the newly designed sway bar mount and secure into place using two 10mm button head screws. No thread lock needed here considering we're going into plastic, although take care not to over tighten too much so as to strip out any threads. We can now insert the rear differential, constructed in bag B, into place. Remember, this is the differential with the 10,000 weight oil, adding a bearing to either side to hold it nicely in place, and drop into the bulkhead. Placing the cover on top, secure into place using four 8mm button head screws supplied within the package. We're screwing into plastic here, so again tighten enough so it's snug, but don't over tighten as you'll risk stripping the threads. And with all four in place, just like we did with the front bulkhead, the true screws that went in at an angle need to be loosened off a quarter of a turn, enough to ensure the differential turns freely. Finally, turn the bulkhead over and apply some grease around the entire ring gear. Just as we did with the front, you don't need to go crazy with the grease here, just a small amount going around the gear is perfectly fine. Turn the diff coupler, as well as the differential itself, just to get that grease spread around the ring gear and the pinion, and to check everything is turning nice and free. The final step is to seal up the gearbox by placing the final plastic piece on the bottom, and securing it into place using the two 6mm flathead screws, again taking care not to over tighten and strip out any threads. Gearbox now sealed, and you can give the differential a faster turn, really making sure it's spinning nice and free. Just like the front, if it's not free spinning, make sure you haven't over tightened the outer case screws. And with that said, our rear gearbox is complete. Just like the front, everything fit together with perfection. With our front and rear gearboxes now complete, as well as our center differential, it's time to move on to bag E, where we'll start assembling more of the rear end.